Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Adnistana. It's a pleasure to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio and continuing that journey of light and knowledge. My guest on this particular segment is a gentleman named Ibrahiym Mahmoud Jallow. He is a member of the Prince Hall Bright Day Lodge number 165 in Arcadia, Oklahoma. And he's here today to talk about his experience at his lodge in Freemasonry. Now, we have featured Prince Hall Freemasonry here on Points of Light Radio, but it's been a long time, so I'm going to offer you some insight here. Prince Hall Freemasonry is a branch of North American Freemasonry for African Americans founded by Prince Hall on September 29th, 1784. Prior to the American Revolutionary War, Prince Hall and 14 other free black gentlemen petitioned for admittance to the white Boston St. John's Lodge, but were refused. After petitioning the Grand Lodges of both Ireland and England, the Grand Master of Premier Grand Lodge of England issued a charter for African Lodge number 459 on September 29th, 1784. It was later renamed African Lodge number 1, and the lodge was the country's first African American Masonic lodge. Notable members of Prince Hall Freemasonry include Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader, Sugar Ray Robinson, the boxer, Duke Ellington, jazz musician, Richard Pryor, an actor, and many more. This is an organization with some very, very, very rich history. But I'll allow my guest to shed more light on this organization. So let's have Mr. Jallow shed some light on Prince Hall Freemasonry. But as I always ask you, are you still thirsty for knowledge? Are you still searching for the light? Then just trim your lamp and follow me. Mr. Jallow, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
You were a member of Prince Hall Freemasonry.
I am the jurisdiction of Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, let me. How about you tell my listeners and viewers about yourself?
All right, sure. So, my name is Brother Mario X. A lot of my close friends know me as Brother Jallow. Originally from East St. Louis, Illinois. Arrived in Oklahoma in 2008 to attend school, where I completed. Right after school, that's when I started my Masonic journey, November of 2016, and I've been humbly elevating through the degrees ever since, and loving, the teachings and learning that comes from that journey.
Okay. Now, why don't you shed some light on Prince Hall Freemasonry? What is it that you like about it?
Right. So a lot of people have the misconception, which I've found oftentimes, that they look at Prince Hall Freemasonry as something different from what Masons practice throughout the world. Prince Hall Freemasonry is named Prince Hall Freemasonry in honor of what we would call our modern founder, Prince Hall. It was first, termed something else, but we named it after him in his passing. And Prince Hall Freemasonry is Freemasonry amongst blacks. Like, it's not, a lot of people would say it's black Freemasonry. No, it's Freemasonry amongst blacks, or Freemasonry that had its beginning amongst or for black people. When, through America's history of its racial codes and legal restrictions and things like that, And so this gave us the opportunity for us to fellowship under the banner of Freemasonry amongst ourselves at first, and then now has expanded and abroad as well.
So you will admit people of other cultures as well, shall we say? Like I know Morehouse, for instance, is now a mixed university.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have many brothers from different diverse backgrounds that have joined Prince Hall Freemasonry, of course. Yes, sir. We never had the restriction of it excluded anyone. We just had our beginnings that way.
It just happened that way. Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what are the qualifications for membership in Prince Hall? Are they the same as other like Blue Lodges in your traditional Freemasonry?
Yep, the same. God fearing, of course, somebody of noble character and uprightness, same as it is traditionally amongst our general Masonic body. So the same requirements.
So, shall we say as well? Is it when you talk about mixed, do you admit women into your lodges or no?
Right. So Prince Hall Masonry does not. We have and we follow the tradition of our women have their separate pendant
Okay.
organizations, the Order of the Eastern Star, Heroines of Jericho. So we don't admit in this, under our jurisdiction, we don't admit women as Freemasons, but we do have, other auxiliary and other pendant bodies that they're a part of that we fellowship with them with.
Now, what lodge do you belong to?
I belong to Bright Day Lodge number 165. It's in Arcadia, Oklahoma.
Okay. And what do you hold any offices in your lodge?
Yes, sir. So currently, I'm the junior warden of my lodge. We actually had our district meeting today. Everything went well, and we were blessed to bring in two brothers. One that'll be going to my lodge, Bright Day Lodge 165, and another brother that will be going to Luther, Oklahoma. They have a lodge as well. So it's a great experience. I've been at that lodge since I was raised, and it's been like a family, a new family for me since I've been in Oklahoma.
So you just brought in another brother?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the goal. The goal is for us now, and I think amongst many organizations is that we see a change in culture where we don't see a lot of young people
Mm.
interested in masonry, right? And I think a lot of that has to just be contributed to the time. Instead of going to a lodge for a ball or going to a lodge for a dinner, we have all of these secondary places that people can go to, which kind of trumps the need for some to want to have to be engaged with lodges. So I know me personally, and I don't speak for the Grand Lodge, of our jurisdiction in any regards to this, but in my own personal endeavor, I'm trying to make sure that I display masonry to my friends and count and just my associates that would make them see masonry as something that they could possibly benefit from if they're looking to find something to be a part of.
Yeah, and but you just brought in some new brothers.
Mhm.
Now, did you get to participate in the degree and all that?
Yes, sir, I did. And this
Yeah.
was actually every time I enjoyed every time. I try to take
Mm-hmm.
something away from it. I definitely try to be fully engaged,
Mm-hmm.
my mind
Even if
clear.
you're
It just
just
makes it
observing, even if you're just
right.
observing,
Yeah, yeah.
there's so
So,
much
but
to
I
learn,
did
isn't there?
so much to learn. And it's, everything that I believe that everything that we go through in our becoming Masons is intentional. And the older we get and the more we fellowship and talk with brothers, we realize that how important certain things are. So what I've started doing personally, me, is if I have an event that I enjoyed or something came out of that event that I felt that was meaningful, I created me a journal and I start documenting those things, that later on, like today, of course, being a part of it and greeting a brother and seeing how he accepted it. That's something that we can share with Masons in the future, and they can kind of get a glimpse of what the experience was like for us.
But I've often said this, like I remember just from the lodges I belong to, there is something to be gained every time when you get your degree, and then a lot of times you find yourself for the first couple of times you'll see someone else go through it, and you get to sit there, and you get more out of it. That whole thing, you think, okay, that's what this is about. But
Right.
then you start participating in the degree team, and you learn even more. The learning goes on. I think you'll agree.
Absolutely. And then for me, I started to understand how important that each and every one of us all of us that are present means something, and all of us are important to be there. There's not really many settings in this virtual world when you can have a member of every generation in one room where you can ask questions and observe certain things. And so one of the brothers was leaving today, and he told me he was blessed to see 86, and he said, it's a very humbling journey. He said, because everyone that I started with are gone. And he said, I'm the last one, that's still left. And before we walked out, I said, all right, young man, keep getting younger. And he said, whichever way it go, I'll be all right. Just the wisdom,
Yeah. Now, do you
Yeah.
meet in your own lodge building, or do you rent space?
Right. So we're blessed to have a large building. We're actually getting some
Good.
renovations to it. Another unique thing is a family of Arcadia, their father
Mhm.
built that lodge. And, to see and to hear the stories about their father and to see his picture, and then to see that, he's transitioned on, and to see his children, those young men that were around him when he was doing that work, to see them now be that age and carrying that torch it's a beautiful experience, man. And I was thinking that today. I said, I know they're proud of him. And I know that he's proud that they kept up that legacy and that tradition as well.
Well, you've been in my lodge, and I've actually, and I've often said this when the lodge, when I first joined that organization, we met in the basement of a church, and I love the guys I was with, don't get me wrong, but there is something when you actually walk in, you've been in my lodge, the history, one of the oldest buildings in my city, and the people that went before, you sense it when you're in there, isn't it? There's just
Right.
something about being,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Now, are your meetings formatted the same in your lodge as they are with other with Blue, or do you find that every lodge does, even within Prince Hall, do you find all lodges do things a little maybe differently?
Yeah, in my travels, I think everybody does things different. You may have a lodge that may have older members, so they have to consider that in regards to
Uh,
time. You know, if you have more of a younger lodge and people can travel throughout the night, it may be different. So for me, I think that most lodges make the accommodations based on the men that they have to serve.
and what drew you first of all to Freemasonry? Was it in your family?
I did have a cousin that I found out after I was a Mason that he had joined, and he had been in it for a while. But before then, I think I've always had a drive and desire for fellowshipping. And so I've had in my early beginnings, I had my early introductions to what brotherhood was. And then when I went to college, I got an opportunity. I joined a fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated,
Okay.
and I did that, and that was a great experience. And then I'm also a member of Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, which is a musical organization. I joined Phi Mu Alpha, and before I left college, I found myself in three. I ended up joining FOCG Sigma Romeo Fraternity Incorporated, which stands for the Fraternal Order of
Mhm.
Classy Gentlemen, Sigma Romeo. And all of them gave me different perspectives. All of them gave me a broader platform of influence of people that can walk through my life. And I just loved it. I think at heart, I think I'm just a fraternalist at heart. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it.
I just love everything about it, man. I love, I thought this when I met with you guys. I said, man, if it was not for this, what are the chances we would have met?
Yeah, yeah.
What are the chances that I would have had the opportunity to walk through your lodge, to stand there, to greet and meet the men, and to share my ideas and get some ideas shared as well? So I think fraternalism is a beautiful way to bring men from diverse backgrounds under the banner of something that is righteous. And it puts aside some of the things that separate us so that we can find the beauty in life of getting to know each other.
Oh yeah, and I've often said that as well. You go into a lodge, and I remember when I first joined my lodge. I mean, I walk in there, and I was a steel worker. I rubbed shoulders with people that were lawyers and things like that. It was just, you'd never see that, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what do you like best though about your current, like about Bright Day Lodge? What do you feel about that?
You know, I lost my grandfather at a very young age,
Mhm.
but I was always attracted to the wisdom. There's an old proverb that says that there's nothing new under the sun. So if you want to learn something, sit under somebody that's been in the sun a little longer than you. And so, you know, just getting guidance and these different tools of life on how to value marriage, how to value your time, you know, just the brotherhood. You know, it was one brother, and I love his brother. His brother had passed away, and his brother was a Muslim. And so he called me and he said that he wanted his brother to get the traditional Muslim wash that we do for brothers when they pass on. And I did that for him. And when he hugged me after, you know, me and the brothers did it, he said, I loved you. I loved you before. He said, but I have a deeper love for you now because of that. You know, so my lodge is always, it's just family oriented. We take care of each other. We call and check up on each other. Like I said, we talk to each other about life because they've been through different situations and they've made it through different obstacles and they've had certain wins and things that I will encounter one day. And so them sharing that wisdom and guidance is a way to live on through the people that you got an opportunity to converse with and learn from, for me.
Well, they can talk about all the secrets of what we do.
Hmm.
People can talk about, why do you have so much? You don't understand. That's really not I mean, that's important to us, but the brotherhood, you can't put a price tag on that. You can't,
Nah,
and I'll make no secret of that. It's brotherhood. That's what it's about,
right.
right?
Yeah,
You can talk about the secrets if you want, but it's brotherhood, and that's what we're there for at the end of the day.
yeah. Brotherhood is a medicine. I mean, I think about this also, brother. How many men that did not make it into a lodge are just sitting in front of their TVs just waiting to die
Mm-mm.
with
Yeah.
nothing, you know, disregarded because of their age, you know, and it's institutions like fraternities that keep men alive and active and keep their ideas relevant.
Hmm.
You know, and so for me, I see the need and necessity for it because like I said, you've seen where somebody's worked a job their whole life and then they retire and soon after they die, right? Because that sense of
Hmm.
meaning, that's that purpose of getting up every
They
day
lose a lot of
isn't
their
filled
identity.
within. So with these organizations, what it does is it keeps them, you know, it keeps them involved in what's going on and they love it too. And so when they see a young brother that's coming in, they see that you're enthusiastic to learn. They can part knowledge and wisdom and watch you use that wisdom to make yourself better. It's a win-win on both sides. So I think it's, you know, for me, it's always been about extended family and learning how to move through this thing called life with the proper tools to understand the best way of living life, you know.
Well, brother, I appreciate your time today. All the best to you and your lodge, and we hope to see you again here on Points of Light Radio.
Yes, sir. And I want to tell you, you're doing a great job. Whenever I want to look into fraternities or look into different organizations, I've studied the podcast that you've done. I preferred it. So just from, you know, your gardener brother, you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate your efforts. And anytime that I can be of assistance to you, I'll definitely do that.
Thank you. Have yourself a great night. That was Brother Jallow, brothers and sisters. In the interest of full disclosure, yes, he does belong to my Free Gardeners Lodge. I had the pleasure of helping him with his degree ceremonies when he joined, and actually, I didn't know what all he was involved in until we got in touch via Facebook afterwards, and I was just like, wow, we have to have Mr. Jallow on here. So, some things that really stand out to me is I love his passion, not just for his lodge, but for fraternalism in general. That is just music to my ears, I might add, because I really do, I can't get enough of those who are so deeply involved in fraternalism. I love how many of his views coincide with mine, right? When you heard us talking about degrees, you don't just get a degree. People think it's all about just getting your degrees in fraternalism, right? It's not just about getting the degrees. It doesn't end there. Some people think you get them in the ends. No, it doesn't, right? It helps to observe and as well as participate. Prime example, one of my brothers was raised to his third or Purple Arch degree last night, actually, and I had received my Purple Arch. I'd been raised to the Purple Arch in, I believe it was 2006. And here it was, all these years later, I'd never actually been able to participate in one of those degrees. And here was a brother being raised to that degree. And just what I learned just from participating in the degree was incredible. And of course, that's possibly a topic for another segment of Points of Light Radio, right? And here's possibly another topic for another segment as well. How every lodge does things, the rituals and their ceremonies and degrees a tiny bit differently. Yes, it's the same basic package, but every lodge maybe puts a different twist or a different turn, right? I think, that's something we're going to have to talk about later. I mean, another segment of Points of Light Radio. And we'll definitely have to have Mr. Jallow back here on Points of Light Radio. I mean, it was just it's such a wealth of knowledge there. And as I've said before, continue to investigate these organizations that you see covered here. There's so much history in many of them, right? But that is all the time I have for today, brothers and sisters. Before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, it's been an honor and a pleasure fellowshipping with you and my guest today. Until we meet again, just step into the light.